All right. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning, wherever you're watching this, whenever you're watching it. It's John Kilkenny, and I'm the director of the Sewanee Summer Music Festival. It is my great pleasure to be here today. We are, before I introduce our guest and my good friend and colleague here, just want to say we're really looking forward to the start of the summer. We are going to be in person at Sewanee on campus for the first time since 2019, which we're really happy about. And we're welcoming a number of students. We have a great group of instrumentalists and conductors and composers, which is what we're going to talk about today. And also we have an outstanding class of singers, of opera singers, that'll be joining us for the first time as part of our opera festival. And which I'm bringing that up because we're going to talk a little bit in a minute about some of the opportunities for our composers and our vocalists to work together. So really excited to be back on campus and grateful to all of the teachers who are sending their students and all of the families who are making the investment in sending their child to Sewanee. We're really looking forward to it. Child or children at heart. Some of our participants are definitely not kids, but we're really looking forward to seeing everybody there. And I'll have more about our summer in a bit. But my good friend and composition teacher and composition program director at the music festival, Jorge Variego, is here. And Jorge, hello. How are you, my friend?
Hey, how are you? Yeah,
Good. Tell
good.
us who you are.
Great to be here today. It's really wonderful that you were saying that we are going to be in person this summer again. This is very exciting. All these new things that we had a lot of time to think, and now they are going to come to fruition. Going back to the question, my name is Jorge Variego, and I am the composition coordinator here in the Sewanee Summer Music Festival. I also teach music theory and composition at the University of Tennessee in Knoxville, and I write and play music, and I am an active clarinetist, and I'll play saxophone too, and that's how I live music actually as a performer and a composer. So I'm excited to share this with everybody.
So before we talk about the program, just talk a little bit about your tell us a little bit about your influences as a musician. I mean, I'm sure they're broad. I know you're a music and it's varied, but so if you don't want to talk about your influences, which is fine. How did
Yeah,
you get started as a composer? What first brought you to
yeah.
that?
Yeah, that is a pretty funny story, but I always tell it slightly different depending on the audience. But I used to play in a group with a lot of friends, like many of us started, play an instrument with a group and then get to hang, and then I started doing arrangements of well-known pieces for the group. The arrangements were so transformed that my friends didn't know how they were related to the original pieces. They said, like, where is the tune here? So if one of my best friends told me, you know what, you should study composition because this has nothing to do with arranging.
That's always a tricky, that's like an interesting compliment, right? When you arrange something and then somebody says, you should study this. Maybe they're
Yeah,
trying to, yeah.
yeah.
Sorry, go
So
on.
that's how it started, and I started to organize some concepts, and I think that was really helpful. And then keep playing and writing, and that those two worlds from the player and the composer are different worlds that feed each other. So you meet people in the orchestra that would play your pieces, or a conductor that will conduct your piece that you're writing, or you hear a sound while playing an ensemble that informs your orchestration imagination. So a lot of things that I use from these two worlds as a player and a composer. But that's how things started to me. Yeah, and my influences,
Yeah.
it's kind of it varies, but something that is very consistent in my let's say to go sound and things that I write is the idea of improvisation and color. These two things are really important to me, things that are never the same. Whenever you play a piece that I wrote two times, hopefully the writing will let you do it differently the second time. And this idea of color, meaning taking orchestration to the limit, to just not letting the listener figure out what is happening. That is something that is interesting to me too. I like a lot of jazz, and I like composers that are in the, let's say, more academic domain or classical domain, that have that sort of approach to, yeah.
So so you're still active as a performer, correct? I mean, I
Yes.
know.
Yeah.
So you still play and actively. How does your performance influence your composition, and vice versa? I have a lot of friends that are composers, and I have a good friend who's a composer conductor, and he
Yeah.
talks very much about that
Yeah.
relationship between being on the podium and recreating another composer's works, and also creating his own works, and how that influences it. So from your perspective as a player, yeah, talk about that.
I think that is an excellent question, because we always think, oh, I need to practice 4 hours, and then I need to write 8 hours. Oh, 8 plus 4 is 12. Where's life, right?
Right. You still have to have some dinner or something, right?
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
Or meet somebody that will play your pieces too, right?
And that's always helpful, right? You write all this
Right.
music, you need someone to play it. Yeah, exactly.
So it took me a little while to learn that those two worlds can, like I was saying before, they can interconnect, and you learn things from your playing, and or your role as a player when you play someone else's music, that will inform your writing, and also the other way around. You may know a piece. I don't know. Recently, I played the Atomic Symphony. I've never played that piece before. I was thinking, this piece is awesome. I mean,
absolutely.
And I was thinking, I would have, if it wasn't for my role as a player, I would have never known more about that piece. And particularly, the bass clarinet doesn't do much in the piece, so you get to listen to it most of the time.
So it's like being a percussionist in orchestra. Sometimes, there are a lot of percussionists who become conductors, and all of them say, well, I'm sitting there in rehearsal, watching the conductor, because I don't have a lot to play, and that's
right.
where it comes from. So it's really
Yeah.
similar. So tell me a little bit about we're going to have the opportunity to talk again later on with one of our colleagues, and someone who'll be joining us this summer virtually to do some film scoring work, so we can dig more into the life of being a composer and all of that. But tell us a little bit about when you started with us in the summer. I guess it was 2018. I think it was my first year as director, and it was your first year.
I think so. Yes.
Leading the composition program. Yeah. So what's your vision for a composition program in the summer, and our program at Sewanee? How do you structure the experience for the composers?
Yeah, it's always changing a little bit, but I'm particularly interested in a few key components. One of them is not necessarily related to music, which is the fact that people in Sewanee get to connect with everybody that is going to be in the music scene for the next 10 years, and I think, or more. And I think that is something that I want the composers to realize, even, or at least to do. Even sometimes some of them realize later that they got to hang with these people that are in the top schools in the country and coming from all over the world, and that is an extremely valuable asset of Sewanee. And then something else that I am interested in is to let the composers have complete the full circle. So they start pieces, they collaborate with other composers and mostly performers, and then they get to rehearse the piece, and then they premiere it. So I'm interested in doing that type of complete work, complete cycle, which is something that in a lot of other places you don't get to go, you don't get to do. Just write your piece, and then you just leave with your piece finished, and then sometimes those pieces don't get premiered. So that is something I want, and I strive for this program to have this completion of from idea to premiere, and making connections. Yeah, all that.
No, that's great, Jorge. Thank you for that. And I know, I mean, just from sort of planning this with you and working on this over the years, like one of the things that I really like about what I've seen you do is you can take an experienced composer, someone who's studying to composition at a high level, and you could do great things with their work, right? I mean, you could really help them refine what they're doing and give them new ideas. But you also have a great capacity to work with people that are just interested in learning more about how to be a composer. And I think that's something that I know is important to me and kind of important to the tradition of Sewanee, right? Like Sewanee is often, for our instrumentalists anyway, often one of the first more serious festivals that they attend, right? So they might have done some summer camps or some shorter things, and those are great. But then, you know, their first experience at a full orchestra festival with big conductors and you know, faculty of you know, that are in orchestras or universities will often be us. And so another part of that exploration, you know, of their musical journey is getting a chance to compose. And for me, I was a student at Sewanee in the summer of '93, and I took the composition class, and I had no idea what I was doing, but it was awesome for me as a 15-year-old kid, you know. So talk about that too, because I know a lot of students will register for the composition class.
Oh yeah,
and how do you work with them? Yeah.
That is a very good point, and I think that, you know, last summer when we had to go virtual, I had I would say the youngest student that we had in the composition program so far, or I had in the composition program so far. I think that she's 11. She's 12 now, I think. She's going to be a violinist this summer.
Yeah, she's coming this summer. Yeah.
That's just amazing, and it was she had all these ideas and these connections, and I was like, oh my gosh, this is what we want to do, like connect from, you know, the 30 recent graduate student with the one who's starting, and that is great. So the composition seminar is a space for people that are mainly interested in playing in an orchestra and doing the orchestral program, but they still want to, like you mentioned, they still want to write and have the opportunity to take lessons. These students or participants, they will take 4 or 5 individual lessons. They'll usually complete a new piece, and we schedule a premiere, and then we have a showcase with these pieces. If they manage to write it and complete it, we have a showcase with all these premieres. We had like 13 in 2019, so it was really exciting. Yeah.
No, that's great. So we have the seminar, and then we have, you know, I call them the majors, right? The composition majors, the students that are there to study that in an more in-depth way. And you mentioned this already, but when we shifted, I refuse to use the word pivot. I'm tired of using the word pivot. So when we shifted to online last year, you had a really thriving studio of online composers that worked with you last summer, and also in January when we hosted the winter program. And we did a call for scores in 2020. I think it was one of the first things once we all kind of got our bearings again after COVID, right? First hit. Is we did a call for scores, and we were some really incredible creative pieces that came from that. And you want to just talk a little bit about the
I think that this I remember we thought about outreaching to the composers now, people that were professionally writing music today. I remember talking with you a couple of years ago, and you know, we started thinking about the idea of a call for scores, and it came to happen to fruition last year, and it was great. We have, I don't know how many submissions, and we selected a few that are going to be presented throughout the next 2 years, hopefully. And if possible, it would be great to have some of the composers come visit and do some activities with the students. But all of that is I think is extremely fueling for everybody.
Yeah, it was great to look at all of those pieces. We had well over 100 submissions. I think it was about 110. And you know, when, of course, like everything in the last year and a half, we've said, well, you know, we'll do this at this point, and then something shifts in the world and we have to move. So we are looking at, we're going to do some of those pieces this summer, some of the chamber pieces, but we weren't sure whether we'd have full orchestra. Thankfully, we are able to do that, but that came together later in the universe. So the good news is that the works we selected are outstanding, and the composers are just exploding in their own careers. And so
I agree.
I'm excited to connect with them this summer and in future summers. And after we get through this cycle of composers, winners of the call, we'll do another call and we'll find some great pieces. So in addition to having online, or excuse me, I just blew the answer. In addition to having in-person programming, surprise, we're also doing, the perils of live video, right? We're also doing an online program this summer. One of the things that you can pretty successfully host in a virtual platform is online. So tell us a little bit about if a student is, especially international students who are still going to have trouble traveling to the U.S. or folks that are just still concerned about traveling for whatever reason, but they want to study with you and they want to have a chance to work with other folks. How are you planning on working the online program?
Yeah, this is pretty interesting, and I think that mainly related to the travel constraints and the fact that we cannot host as many people as we would like to on campus. All these things are limiting, but I think that the online portion helps because, particularly in composition in the summer and in the winter, we had a pretty successful experiences, and so this summer we will have students or the option for students to attend online. The online portion of the course of the festival will include a lot of very cool activities. People will be able to attend the concerts. They will have 2 individual lessons per week, one with me and one with the fellow composer fellow. So it's a lot of work. Think about that. You will have a turnaround of 3.5 days, which is a lot. I mean, it's a lot of work to do, not much time. Yeah. And then performances, and there's 1 week of film scoring that we'll talk with Vinny next week. And then there's another week with in collaboration with the opera program, which is something new, very exciting too. It's going to be an opportunity for a select number of students, and then we will, some other things that we do on a regular basis, right? So, yeah,
we don't want to give away all the information.
No, but
some surprises. Yeah,
surprises.
So, Jorge, before we go, I just want to ask you this. I didn't tell you I was going to ask you this, but I was thinking about it. I've gotten to know your music, obviously, working with you in this way. And you've written, you have a string trio that we're premiering this summer. You wrote a percussion piece for us in my first year, and you wrote a really cool piece that I just want you to take a minute and talk about for singing cellist. That Natasha Farney, one of our faculty, Natasha Farney, I think she premiered it, right?
She premiered it. Yeah.
Could you just? Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, please. I just love the piece.
That was an extremely rewarding experience musically and personally, because I got to know Natasha a little bit more, and it's just awesome to work with, and it's very receptive. It's really wonderful. That was a wonderful opportunity. So this piece was an idea that we started handling in the first summer I was in Sewanee, and then I told Natasha if she wanted me to, if she wanted to collaborate with me for a project, and so we started thinking about possibilities. She sent me what she was doing or what she could do, and she sent me this piece by Villalobos, the Bahianas 5, the one that is for 8 cellos and soprano. And that I thought, wow, that is interesting. And then she also sent me this piece by Peter Vasks, also for singing cellist. And I was thinking, well, there's a message there. and we started chatting about that, and I incorporated the singing in her playing. So the piece became about a collection of ones. The piece is called Uno, which is one in Spanish, and it's a collection of ones. There's a tango, very well-known tango of the 40s by Mariano Mores called Uno, that is embedded there, and there's a condensed version of the beginning of Brahms' First. So it's a very interesting piece. So I had a an excellent experience with working with her, and I think that the result came out really, really nicely. She got to play it a few more times after Sewanee, so it's great.
It's always exciting for me. I mean, as a percussionist, right? I play a lot of new music, and so it's nice to see a piece that has a life after its premiere, because that's always the challenge, right? As a composer, is the first performance is its own issue, an own challenge, an own exciting thing, but then you want to keep it going. And I know it's been played a few times, and hopefully it'll continue to grow, because I think it's a really wonderful piece. So,
thank you.
Yeah, thanks for writing it. Thanks for sharing it with us. So, Jorge, it's been really fun to get caught up with you about the composition program. And for folks that are interested in learning more about the online program, you could visit our website, which is scrolling at the bottom. You could find information on our social media channels. We'll put the link in the channel here too a little bit later on. We have a podcast now, so this will be on our next podcast that'll come out in a couple of weeks. So, check out all the stuff we're doing with the music festival, all the things that we're doing with the, especially with this creative capacity and as in the composition area. And again, we're really excited to be back on campus in Sewanee. Jorge and I are floating in front of Gary Auditorium right now, for those of you watching this in real time. And we're looking forward to seeing everybody in person. There's a whole bunch of fire trucks going by my house right now, so that's probably a good sign for me to sign off. Jorge, thank you so much. Great to see you. We'll see you this summer, and we'll talk soon. Thanks.
Great to see you. Great to see you. Great to see everybody.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.